Foundations for a Restful Night. I know this is sort of a hot topic because sleep is important for all of us, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But thank you everyone for coming. I know it's sometimes hard to get out of the house, especially if you have kids at home, so I appreciate you all coming. So maybe let's go to the next. So tonight what we're gonna talk about is why sleep matters, sleep needs by age, some of the foundations for healthy sleep, including bedtime routines and sleep environment. We'll talk about 4 common sleep challenges, talk more about sleep training, when to ask for help, and then we'll have time at the end for Q&A. Okay. You want to tell us about Kids Thrive Therapy?
Hi, I'm Abby. Some of you and seen some of you here with your kids and things, but I'm the clinical director here. So we're a pediatric outpatient clinic. We see kids from birth all the way through 18, working on all types of different skills, a lot of regulation and sensory things that kind of go into that sleep piece. And so Megan had reached out to us and asked us if she could kind of share this information with the community here. And we were excited to have her and sort of see what she has to share with all of you, and continue to learn with all of you. And she's a great resource in our community, so we're excited for you all to learn from her.
Awesome, thank you, Addie.
Mm-hmm.
And my 11-year-old goes here. We love Kids Thrive Therapy. Okay, so my organization is called Bum to Babe Doula and Sleep Services. We provide postpartum doula support. Did any of you guys have a doula, birth doula, postpartum doula? Birth or postpartum? Both.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Both are combo.
Okay, great. So we really focus on centering the parents and ensuring rest, recovery, and that transition to parenthood. We provide emotional, practical, and sleep support. So we also do sleep coaching, focusing on bedtime struggles, early wake-ups, and other challenges families have. And the sleep coaching, so postpartum doula, we focus on infant and newborn all the way to 4 months. And then we shift towards sleep coaching for 4 months up to 6 years. Really, we want to focus on teaching children the skills to be independent sleepers, and the difference between sort of working with a sleep coach and Googling all night and all day around sleep training methods is with sleep coaching you get the accountability, support, and troubleshooting, and it's really customized to the issues that your child is facing. Okay. So a little bit about my background. My colleague is Liz, and she's in Nebraska, so she covers all of our sleep coaching in Nebraska. My background, I worked in global health for 20 years, focusing on maternal child health, and worked for Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. I was trained through DONA International as a postpartum doula, and then as a certified pediatric sleep consultant through the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. Okay, we just did this one. Okay, so you guys have the opportunity to win a prize. So I gave you all little note cards so you can write down some answers to these questions, and we're going to go through these. So what are the 2 foundations for sleep without the struggle? Name 2 common sleep challenges and a tip to overcome the challenge. And when should you get help from a certified pediatric sleep consultant? Have any of you guys worked with a pediatric sleep consultant before?
Yeah,
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Our son went through Kennedy Krieger for like a tongue tie, and then because of that, he qualified for like a medical condition that went to the sleep consultant there.
Oh, okay, awesome. That's great. How many of you guys have Googled sleep training or gentle sleep training methods.
I've done some online, like package sort of things that involved like a one-time Zoom session. Kind of
Okay.
thing. So I guess
Okay.
I've dabbled.
Sure,
in it, but
sure,
not
sure.
gone the whole way.
Okay, so we'll continue. So, I don't have to probably tell you guys, but sleep is a necessity. It's not a luxury. And we'll go to the next. So, why sleep matters? So, sleep quantity and quality is the most significant influence on a healthy life. So, sleep not just disturbs a child's nights, but it also disturbs their days. They're less mentally alert, more inattentive, unable to concentrate, easily distracted, physically impulsive, or hyperactive. Sleep deprivation on a parent's central nervous system impacts your motor skills, ability to think, irritability, focus, mental health, and cellular and tissue breakdown. So, not to scare all of you, but sleep is a requirement for all of us. So I'm glad that you guys are here to try to figure out how to help your family sleep a little bit more. Okay? So children who get enough sleep have better attention, behavior learning, memory, emotional regulation, quality of life, and mental and physical health. And it also routinely not getting enough sleep has sort of longer term consequences with depression, emotional and mental disorders, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and self-injuries. Okay. So what this graphic is showing are sort of the sleep needs by age. So if you have a child that is still taking naps, you're going to want to add the nap time plus the overnight time and try to be within these ranges. Some of the ranges are pretty long or big, but that sort of takes into account children that have lower sleep needs and then higher sleep needs. Okay, so our first foundation is really focused on a predictable and soothing bedtime routine. So evidence shows that having a consistent bedtime routine is directly related to better sleep, including falling asleep faster, earlier bedtimes, fewer night wakings, and longer sleep overall. And the bedtime routine impacts parent-child attachment, language development, emotion, and behavioral regulation. Okay. So tips for a better bedtime. So what I always suggest to my families is build in some silly time or active time before bedtime routine starts. So that is really focused on connecting with your child. It's putting the devices away. Maybe it's a dance party in your kitchen for 15 minutes. Maybe it's hide and seek throughout your house. Maybe it's an Uno game. Some sort of activity where they can expend a little bit of energy, excitement, and have then sort of wind down time as part of bedtime routine. You're going to want to make your bedtime routine consistent. So it's in the same steps, same order, and this serves as sort of an anchoring point in your day. And they can look at the predictability of that. So maybe it's a bath and then brush your teeth, go potty, get a last drink of water. You may fit a snack in there if that's one of the stalling techniques of your child. Read a book, lullaby, bedtime. And having those activities in the same order helps them sort of know that what is coming next, including bedtime. This is really the time for cuddles and connection. So doing bedtime routine, at least part of it, in their room, laying in the bed, reading to them, sort of dim the lights, is really important. One thing that we implemented is to talk about our 3 favorite things about the day and 3 things you love about them. So they get a chance to talk and share the good parts of the day, and then you get to share how much you love them. So it's important to start the bedtime routine sort of at that perfect time where they're not overtired, but they have built up enough sleep pressure so they are drowsy or tired. So 3 to 5 year olds, again, bedtime 5:30 to 8:30. 5:30 might not be realistic for folks that are working during the day and they're coming home between 5:36. You've got to get food on the table, baths and everything else. But 5 to 12 year olds, you may push that back by an hour. And it's going to be important for you to sort of gauge when to do the bedtime routine and when bedtime should be. You may adjust by a half an hour, sort of forwards or backwards, depending on how overtired they are, how quickly they fall asleep, etc. So on tonight we might try starting the bedtime routine at 8 and then having bedtime at 8:30. If that doesn't give us enough time to go through the bedtime routine, adding 15 minutes or maybe pushing bedtime a little bit later. But ideally you want bedtime routine to be short and sweet. So 30 to 45 minutes max is that wind down time, the cuddle time, the book. If you include a bath every night, you may be on that 45-minute side. If bath is 3 times a week, having a shorter bedtime. When we get into sort of the 2-hour, 3-hour bedtime, it's often our presence is sort of what keeps them ramped up, and letting them have that time in their room to wind down post that bedtime routine is going to be really important. I was working with a 2.5-year-old who their parents had the 2-hour sort of prolonged in their bed, waiting for the child to fall asleep, rubbing the back, singing lullabies for the 2 hours. And we worked together on setting up that consistent bedtime routine and implementing a sleep training method. And we got bedtime to about 30 to 35 minutes. And, over a 4-day period, the child was in their room by themselves for 30 to 45 minutes, winding down on their own and then falling asleep. And the parents were like, we actually have our evenings back. We watched a movie last night. We got to have some time together. So it can be done. And these are some of the tips and tricks to get there. Okay, so the other foundation is really around sleep environment. So there's a number of different things to keep in mind when we're thinking about the sleep environment for our children. So darkness and light. Some kids need sort of the blackout curtains, dark for naps and for bedtime. Others may be afraid of the dark, and you might want to put a night light in there or keep the closet light on so they are able to see sort of their room. But that's going to be dependent on every child. What would you say is related to devices and the sleep environment? None. Yeah. So definitely want to make sure all devices are removed from their room. During your silly time and bedtime routine, no devices. Sometimes with my sleep training clients, we actually take away all devices for the 2-week period that we're doing the sleep training, because the devices often sort of amp them up and it's really hard to calm down, especially for early morning wake ups where you know, I know for me, I sort of used a device as a crutch so I could get a little bit more sleep. But then my daughter started associating, ooh, if I get up early, I get the device. And so we had to break that sort of sleep association. In terms of temperature and comfort, we wanted a little bit cooler. You know, kids in footy pajamas, you know, just making sure that the room is comfortable. We've talked about bedtime routine. In terms of noise and sound, some children really do well with like a white noise machine. Others, you know, it grates on them. My child loves, we listen to Metamorphosis on the Calm app, and it's like Costa Rican jungle sounds, and that's the one that sort of resonates for her and helps her fall asleep. I don't think she would do well with the white noise, but needed a little bit more sort of mind stimulation to help her fall asleep. In terms of safety, how many of your kids are still in the crib, or have they all transitioned to a bed? So thinking about their environment, their room, you want to ensure that it's safe. A lot of our younger kids, I recommend putting up a baby gate so they're not sort of wandering through the house while you're sleeping. It also helps to delineate this is their space. Obviously, you're attaching all the bookcases and dressers to the wall to make the environment as safe as possible. And depending on your child, you may actually remove toys and art supplies and other things from the bedroom so that the bedroom is there for sleep. Anything anyone would add in terms of the sleep environment or questions related to sleep environment? Anything you guys have tried that has been successful or you think has been successful or not successful?
We've added a galaxy light.
Okay.
Because our therapist here like played it, and it's like kind of this looks like aurora borealis sort of on the ceiling.
Mhm.
And I've found she'll ask to turn it off before she's ready to like really go to sleep, but it seems like an important like kind of calming thing for us.
Okay. That's great. And that's great that she knows herself enough to ask to have it turned off. That's great. Others?
We had like a red nightlight. He's like afraid of monsters now, so now
Okay.
he can kind of see, but it's not like bright.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, no, that's important, especially if fears and nightmares. This is the age for those, and that's actually one of the common challenges that we're going to talk about. Okay. Okay, 4 common sleep challenges. So, child doesn't want to go to bed. You know, they delay, they come down, they're stalling, they need one more drink of water, they need a snack, they have one more thing to do. So again, a consistent calming bedtime routine, having that the same on weeknights and weekends, addressing any underlying issues like separation, anxiety, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Eliminating screen time before bed, staying calm, establishing expectations, and holding boundaries. So something that we talk a lot about with this age group as part of sleep training is a bedtime pass. Have you guys ever heard of that? So if you have that kid that comes out of the room like 5 times and can't settle down, you would sit down with your child during the day and make sort of a bedtime pass. That gives them the opportunity to turn it in for one time coming out of the room. And if they don't come out of the room and they have that bedtime pass in the morning, they get some sort of reward. So we know they're going to come out. We want to just try to limit the number of times that they're coming out. So sometimes that bedtime pass is a good thing to implement if you have that child that needs one more drink of water, needs to go potty, comes out to tell you one more thing. And then another thing we do with this age group is a family meeting. So sitting down, talking about what your expectations are for bedtime, getting a chance to hear from them what their concerns are, why they seem to be coming out a number of times, and then strategizing with them how to improve this, and getting sort of their buy-in during the day, during the family meeting. You can also do role play with the younger ones. This is our bedtime routine. Stuffy is going to take a bath. Let's pretend we're doing a bath. Now he's on the potty, that sort of thing. So they can start associating that bedtime routine with wind down time. And this is also where you talk about that bedtime pass and the boundaries. It's really important at bedtime. I know we're all exhausted at the end of the day, but holding the boundaries that you discuss and ensuring that they know what those boundaries are. And a lot of times kids step up to those boundaries and expectations. And then making sure they're not overtired. They actually, there's a growth stimulating hormone that is released when they're overtired. So sometimes you see them getting really tired and then they get that second wind. And it's trying to catch them before they get overtired. And then as part of the family meeting, and even as you're going through the bedtime routine, give them choices. Are we gonna do a bath tonight, or are we just gonna get our pajamas on? Are we getting out of the bath right away, or do you wanna wait till it drains? So giving them two choices that are both acceptable to you, that way they have a little bit of control during that bedtime routine. Brushing teeth before or after the bath. Okay, sleep challenge number 2, frequent night wakings or difficulty staying to sleep. So like I mentioned before, take care of potential stall tactics as part of bedtime routine. Add in that snack after silly time before bedtime routine. Make sure they go to the bathroom, drink some water, whatever they normally come up with. Have that part of the bedtime routine so it's all sort of taken care of. Anytime they come out of the room, you're going to want to calmly return that child to bed if they get up and respond the same way each time. So if they come out of the room, walk them back to the room. This is really important in the middle of the night. We're not engaging, we're not having a long conversation about why they're up. It's, you can say, I love you, you're safe, it's time to go to bed. And when they realize, I can't get a rise out of my parents by coming out, and this is what's gonna happen every time I go out, they're gonna get to a point where that's not so fun anymore. I know it's really hard, especially when you're sleeping and you hear the little feet coming into your room and crawling into bed. It's nice and cozy, and again, that's why we want to try to do our cuddles and conversation as part of bedtime routine, so they sort of get that sort of feedback and closeness then. Again, consistent bedtime routine. We want to try to break negative sleep associations to help them self-soothe. So when your children were infants, did they like to contact nap? Were they sort of on you not really liking the crib, not really liking the bassinet, wanting to be held, wanting to be rocked, those sort of things. Or breastfed to sleep is another one we see in infants to 2-year-olds. And those sorts of associations are not going to necessarily help the independent sleep. So, maybe we rock as one of the first things in the bedtime routine, maybe while we're reading the story. But now it's time to go to sleep, and now you're going to sleep in your bed. If they take a bottle, while they're sleeping, maybe that is part of bedtime routine, but it's at the front end of the bedtime routine. So trying to separate those associations from the actual act of sleep will make you have less parental interventions with sleep. Again, having a consistent plan. So, ideally it's both of you that are doing the same thing when your child wakes up in the middle of the night. So you can tag team with a partner, make sure they're not engaging the same way you're not engaging, so the child understands what's going to be happening. And then establish family sleep rules with your child. So as part of that family meeting, we're going to talk about how, big boys and big girls get to sleep in their bed, just like mommy and daddy get to sleep in their bed. If they are in a bed, then when they need to get out, they need to call for you rather than them just getting out of bed and coming out. If there's early morning wake-ups, you can use an okay to wake clock. Do you guys know about those? So, we get out of bed when it's green, we stay in bed when it's red. I don't recommend sort of using an okay to wake clock as your only sort of intervention, because lots of times kids just ignore it. But as part of that larger discussion and setting sort of the sleep rules in your house, you can say, if you stay in your bed until the light is green, we'll get a chance to have a special treat at breakfast. Chocolate kisses are great for breakfast. Questions on these 2 sleep challenges? No? Okay, sleep challenge 3, fears, nightmares, and night terrors. So this usually comes into play around 18 months through preschool. Often they're afraid of the dark, nightmares, separation, anxiety. So if they're prone to nightmares, or they're more prone to nightmares if they're ill, overtired, have that irregular bedtime routine, if they're hitting developmental milestones, stress or anxiety, and any sort of traumatic event. So night terrors, any of your kids experience night terrors?
Yes.
Yeah. So they are sleeping when they are experiencing it. Often they're inconsolable, abruptly wake. Are you feeling this definition?
Oh
here?
yeah, she doesn't remember it either. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you just woke up the whole house.
Yeah.
And everyone's awake now.
And everyone's awake. Yeah. So there's not much you can do, sadly, for night terrors. And it's not recommended that you focus on them during the day. So they usually will grow out of it. But you're right, they don't
They
usually
don't
remember it, and it often happens sort of early in the night. Okay. So overcoming sort of this challenge, again, you can see a pattern, the consistent bedtime routine. For fears, using a nightlight, maybe keeping the door open, having a special lovey that they can hug and cuddle if they're afraid. In terms of nightmares, reassuring the child that bad dreams aren't real and you are there to protect them. I'm not a big fan of Monster Spray. Do you guys know about Monster Spray? Yeah, so that's like, you fill up the water bottle with some water and maybe some lavender or something that make it smell good. And if they're afraid of that closet, they can spray it, that then monsters won't come out of that closet. The reason why I don't like it is because we know monsters aren't actually real, and we don't want to perpetuate the thought that monsters do exist. So not a big proponent. Have you guys used the Monster Spray? Does it work?
I mean, he always is asking for it. He says he sees them, so I'm like, oh, mommy cleared them all out. There's no monsters.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
going.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna work for some
Yeah.
kids. If you haven't implemented Monster Spray, just be sort of careful. Okay, so separation anxiety, you're gonna wanna spend time in their room before they fall asleep. Don't sneak out, and always remind them that you are, that you'll come back and then gradually decrease your presence. So there's a thing called the kissing game that works really great for separation anxiety. So they're in the bed, you tell them, I'm always gonna come back, I love you, you're safe, and good night. I'm gonna come back in to give you a kiss as long as you're staying in your bed. And so like you walk away to the door and then you come back and give them a kiss, okay? Then you tell them, I love you, you're safe, it's time for bed, I'm gonna come back and give you a kiss. So maybe this time you go to the bathroom and, use the bathroom and you're gone for a minute or two and you come back and give them a kiss. And you can do that and then have longer stretches of time between you coming back in to give them a kiss, and it's all predicated on them staying in their bed. So you can make up any sort of excuse. I'm gonna go downstairs, I need to water and feed the dog, and then I'll come back, and then you come back in 5 minutes and you tell them that you're gonna give them a kiss. You want to validate feelings and avoid overtiredness, and then be patient. So a lot of this is a phase that they're gonna go through, and sort of trying to address it, but knowing that this is gonna get better over time. Okay. Early morning wake-ups. That one's hard. So again, you may want to adjust to an earlier bedtime to avoid them being overtired. This reduces that body releasing stimulating hormone. If they are taking naps, don't do any naps past 5 p.m. Again, that's going to help with the sleep pressure. You may go to the park right after dinner and get all of their energy out. You may go for a walk after dinner, and before, your silly time and then the bedtime routine, just to add more sleep pressure so that they're actually tired when they go to sleep. Again, consistent bedtime and wake up time, even on the weekends. Have them stay in their bed if they wake up early. So using that same technique of when they come out, you walk them back to their room. It's not time to wake up. It's time to still stay in your bed. You can use that okay to wake clock. And then no screen time if they wake up early. Mindy, you look like you were gonna say something. Okay.
No.
Okay. Any questions about these 2 sleep challenges? Yeah?
How do you feel about books if they wake up early? Can they read their book, which is aka picture walks through this book?
Yeah, so like putting a couple books in their bed
Yes.
and they can look at those books. I'm fine with that. I feel like any opportunity for your child to do any sort of reading is a great opportunity. I would say, pick out 2 or 3 and we'll put this in the corner of your bed. And as long as you stay in bed, you can look at books.
Is that just in the morning, or?
I would, yeah, I
I've
would.
attempted and not to tons of success. Like if you're not tired, you can have quiet time, and you can look at a book. You can she's got this little drawing tablet thing. It's
Yeah.
on the screen, but a drawing tablet, and then a Tony box.
Yeah, I try to limit toys and books at night, only because that's part of the stalling technique. Often, they will read their 2 books and then holler out, "I want more books," or I need another piece of paper, to color on. And really, once the bedtime routine happens, then it's laying in their bed trying to go to sleep.
Okay.
So, putting the books where they can find them, after they've gone to sleep, that sort of thing. And that might help with those early morning wake-ups.
Sometimes with that too, with kids here, I've kind of taught them, and I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I've taught them to do things with their hands, do a lot of hand tracing, and something they could do almost more meditative, right? Counting sheep concept of just sort of I teach a lot of them to breathe in on the way up and breathe out on the way down, and just practice hand tracing and just sort of slowing their nervous system and getting them ready for bed, because I feel a lot of times they're yeah, I'm not tired yet. I don't know if you have an opinion on that,
I
but
think that's.
it's not play, right? But
Yeah.
they more learn it, and obviously that's a slightly older child that could follow that direction, but
Yeah, no,
I've
I
had
like
some
that.
success with that.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So there's many other sleep challenges. Sleepwalking, the child stays up too late. They don't want to fall asleep alone. Bad dreams, sleep apnea and snoring, not getting enough sleep. I mean, the list can sort of go on and on. The sleep apnea and snoring, obviously that's a medical issue. You're going to want to talk to your pediatrician about that. Sleep training is not going to help that. There are sort of tricks and tips for most of these other challenges, and during Q&A we can talk more about that. Okay, so how many of you heard about Cry It Out sleep training method? Yeah. So I'm not a big proponent of Cry It Out. It's not that it's harmful for a child. Sometimes it's harder for the parents to hear their child and not be in a position to help them. So I always recommend more gentle sleep training methods. But sleep training really focuses in on establishing healthy sleep habits and routines to help your child fall asleep independently and stay asleep throughout the night through reassurance, comfort, while gradually reducing parental involvement at bedtime. So if we can reframe sleep training, it's not something you do to your child, but it's something you're doing for your child. You're helping them sleep more independently. So we do sleep training from 4 months to 6 years, and it's really moving from having a routine, especially in those really early months, to having more of a schedule, and that would include, a certain time for wake up, certain time for naps, and wake windows, and then certain time for bedtime. There are structured sleep training methods. Some work better for younger ages, some work better for older ages, some work better if you have a child in a crib versus a bed. And then with any sort of sleep training, it's all going to be about consistency and patience and follow through, right? So a lot of times it isn't actually the child that's having the difficulty. It's in response to our response to them. So by being consistent with how we are communicating with our child, holding those boundaries, that's a lot of what sleep training actually is. Okay. So let's go over some myths and facts about sleep training. So sleep training is not ignoring your child's needs. It's really, sleep coaching does not mean neglecting child's needs. It ensures that children are comforted while also teaching them how to fall asleep and self-soothe independently. So we talk with infants and newborns, not breastfeeding to sleep, but maybe using a pacifier, or a lovey, or their thumbs or fingers to help self-soothe. Next. It is safe and beneficial. So research shows that sleep training is safe, does not harm attachment. In fact, studies demonstrate that sleep-trained children have better sleep habits without negative behavioral or emotional effects. And I actually brought a sheet that you are all welcome to. It actually has sources and a little synopsis related to sleep resources that show sort of that evidence around it being beneficial. And then obviously improve parental well-being. So sleep coaching can significantly enhance maternal mood, reducing the likelihood of prolonged postpartum depression due to sleep deprivation. And I see this a lot in my postpartum doula clients. There's sort of a direct relationship between lack of sleep and anxiety and depression among postpartum moms and dads. Okay. So when to get help from a certified pediatric sleep consultant? If your child's sleep problems are significantly impacting your family's well-being, if you've tried various sleep training methods without success, if you're experiencing severe sleep deprivation, it's impacting your child's mood and daytime functioning, you're struggling to establish a consistent sleep routine or schedule, you're dealing with frequent night wakings, nap-time challenges, and then they're between 4 months and 6 years. So sort of what we're doing today is sort of giving you the broad strokes of helping with these challenges and tips and tricks. With a certified pediatric sleep consultant, you're working one-on-one, and you actually fill out a whole family questionnaire. So your sleep consultant really understands what is happening in the house with your child and makes a customized sleep plan that you'll follow. Okay. So like I said, I do postpartum doula visits, both day and overnight. As part of sleep coaching, we have phone and Zoom calls on the front and the back end. We put together a customized sleep plan with instruction and the sleep training methods. Usually I give a couple different methods, and during our consultation and review of the sleep plan, we decide which ones the parents are most comfortable with, and those are the ones that we implement. We do 2 weeks of virtual tech support, and really this is about accountability and troubleshooting. We also offer, on top of that 2 weeks of virtual tech support, in-home overnight parent coaching session for real-time troubleshooting. So this is a 12-hour session, sort of from bedtime to morning, that I would be with the parents and helping them to sort of follow that sleep plan, and sort of in the moment troubleshooting as the first night starts up. And this is just a quote from one of my recent clients that I mentioned, the 2.5-year-old. Okay, so I'm sure you all took some notes. Let's go through the questions. You want to hit the next button? So what are 2 foundations for sleep without the struggle? And anyone can answer. Bedtime routine, and sleep environment. How are you guys doing with bedtime routine and the sleep environment? Are there any tips or tricks from this presentation that you are thinking you want to implement?
guess my struggle is my 2 girls share a room.
Okay.
So a 6-year-old and a 4.5-year-old, they have 2 different needs.
Yeah. Do they go to bed at the same time?
They do now, but my 6-year-old's not too happy about it because she
Yeah.
wants to stay up.
Yeah. Can you stagger the bedtime so the 4-year-old goes down first?
Oh, not a chance. She's so attached to the older one.
Okay. And is the younger one keeping the older one awake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my struggle. So just trying to figure out how I'm gonna navigate that.
Yeah, that's tough. Sometimes, especially for sleep training, we recommend splitting them for a period of time, just so you can focus on, you know, the one that needs to have a little bit more structure with their sleep. Any other tips or tricks that you're thinking about implementing related to bedtime routine or sleep environment?
I mean, we have a routine, but we can't keep it in order because it's more of what he's agreeing to in the moment, fighting
Uh-huh.
and.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of the family meeting because he is smart and he's at the stage. I think if we can talk it out and come to a compromise,
Yeah.
it may help. I
Yeah.
don't know how much, but
One thing especially to keep in mind around sleep is there are child decisions and there are parent decisions. So child decisions may be, do you want a banana or do you want an apple today? You know, things that he can control. Sleep decisions are parent decisions. And, you know, we're going to do this sleep routine this way because this is a parent decision. You know, it's our parent decision that 8:30 is bedtime. So we're going to do bedtime routine up to 8:30, and then 8:30 it's time to go to sleep. And this is a parent decision. So helping them understand, you know, the different kinds of decisions that they're going to get to make during the day, which ones are parent decisions, which ones are child decisions. And you'll find in a lot of cases, once you can sort of crack the bedtime, not other things going on during the day become a little bit easier to manage too. You know, being able to sort of keep those boundaries in place become a little bit easier, whether that's with potty training, you know, battles, wills, you know, trying to make those sorts of decisions. Any other
I
tips?
think too with the routine
Yeah.
and schedule, one of the things that I talk a lot with parents about is like using a visual schedule as well. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure all of your kids are like, we're going to the beach tomorrow, and you're like, we're going to the beach in like 3 months. We've been over this a million times, but like they don't know when 3 months is. They don't remember what you did last night. Like they
Yeah.
don't know if we took a bath or brushed our teeth, and they don't
Yeah.
really care if they took a bath or brushed their teeth, right? So I think too having the schedule, but then also having like a visual of the schedule, and then like a lot of times parents do like have them be like, oh, like Jess, go check the schedule. What are we doing next? And then it's like all of a sudden it's Jess's idea to get in the bath when you put that schedule there. So
Yeah.
sometimes too, I think having like the visual can help with the predictability of the routine, because I think
Yeah.
they truly don't know day to day what happened because their sense of time is not yet established.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion.
How do you respond when you have the routine? I like the visual for
Mhm.
it, but then it like when she's being defiant of that, like, okay, we're only doing 2 stories, and then it's like begging for more, hearing no, freaking out, running out of the room. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's
So
What do you do?
how old is your child?
almost 4.
Almost 4. So I would start with that family meeting that, you know, we're gonna do 2 stories. That's all we're gonna have time for at bedtime. If you would like more stories, we can do more stories during the day, but sort of establish what you're planning on doing and talk through, you know, you can say, do you want 1 story or 2 stories? You know, at bedtime, whatever's acceptable to you, that gives them a little bit of choice in it. But, you know, we're not doing 3 stories. Like 2 stories is max, sort of.
And then like, if she freaks out, runs out of the room, it's just like
Bring her
bring
back.
her back
Yep.
repeat yourself.
Repeat.
What we
repeat.
do is, because he'll ask more stories, we'll like tell him, okay, we'll take this book, we'll read this in the morning.
You put it in a spot for the morning.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's
Yeah.
like, if you wanna read this book, we can read it, just not now, we'll read it in the morning after
Yeah.
you wake up.
That's a great suggestion.
I think that's a great idea too because it's so validated. Like it's like I hear you, and I think as far as like the power struggle of once the no starts, like now you're going to be in a power struggle, and now we have like they're getting into fight or flight, and you're going the opposite direction. So I love the idea of trying to find a way that it's not a no, it's like a not right now.
Yep.
And he usually forgets, and I'll be like, "Here's the
Yeah.
story."
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
we want this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So name 2 common sleep challenges and a tip to overcome the challenge.
Night wakings.
Night wakings.
And then just taking them back, being calm. I feel like being calm is the big thing.
Yeah.
When you have 3 kids coming out, calmness is not there.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean it's a challenge for us, right? I mean, when they come out, we're tired. We're sort of over, the day and want them to go to sleep. So yeah, bringing them back. I love you. You're safe. It's time for bed. Sort of have that mantra that you just repeat each time you take them back, and not get into a lengthy discussion about what's going on. Yeah. Other sleep challenges and a tip?
I like the separation anxiety with the kissing game. It's like I know I have to stay in the bedroom from the time he's in bed till he sleeps.
Yep.
And I think that might help let him know that I'm gonna come back
Yeah.
for him and I'm always there, but
Yep. And that
I
he has
can't
to
be in the room while
Yep.
you're falling asleep.
Yeah, and he
I
has
have
to
things
stay.
do.
He has to stay in the bed
Yeah.
while you're doing the kissing game.
Yeah.
And if he gets out, then you're not coming back for the kiss.
Yeah.
And I think making the intervals shorter, especially as you are starting to implement the game, is going to be really important. Being like, we're going to do the kissing game, and you're like, I'm out of here for 20 minutes. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But doing sort of that rapid return
Mhm.
is going to be important.
That might be a good game too to play during the day, like roles reversed too. Like mom's gonna sit on the couch for a while. No, but you sitting on the couch, right, and him going and coming back and letting him practice being in control of the separation too, just so he can get like comfortable with the game.
Yeah, I like that. Any other challenges and a tip?
The delaying bedtime, and like the routine and the boundaries, family meeting, all that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Great. Let's go to the next one. And then when should you get help from a certified pediatric sleep consultant?
When you've tried multiple options and they have not worked.
Yeah.
We're all exhausted.
What was that?
We're all exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sleep issues with children impact the whole family, and it can get better. It can get better. Any other items from number 3? Anything else resonated? Okay, you guys did a great job. You want to click the next one? So prizes for all of you. So today for participating in this, I'm giving $50 off any of the sleep packages for participating, and I'm gonna show my website, and if you end up deciding that you want to talk further about this, I do 15-minute consultations for free, and when you book that online, you just say, I attended your 3 to 6 year old presentation, and we'll take $50 off. Okay, so this is my information and my website. I have cards up here that you're welcome to have. You can also email me. I have an Instagram and a Facebook where I put hints and tips and tricks. related to sleep and early childhood on there. Questions, comments?
So I have an interesting one.
Yeah.
So, and I just thought about it as earlier when you're going through this.
Yeah.
Made me think about it.
Yeah.
So you talk about not putting them to sleep overtired, but then you also talk about the nap and not letting them nap past. I mean, we went and tried a nap because we tried to have them go to nap from 1 to 3. But obviously there are those days when you're doing other activities and lunch is late and whatever, and he starts late. So if you still try to get him to take a nap, how short of a nap can you do? Because I know I know they say, like, at least with adults, if you're going to take like an afternoon nap, it should be like 30 minutes because of how your sleep cycle is,
Right.
so that you're not too overtired when you wake up.
Right.
So, I mean, is the sleep cycle length for a toddler still about the same as an adult?
So you have a 3-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and does he do naps at daycare or he just naps at home?
Mostly.
Only if he's really tired.
Yeah, he's,
Okay.
So at
he's really
school,
trying to
he's-
get rid of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
at school he's more tired and he'll nap, but then
Uh-huh.
he just won't go, he's not tired
Yeah.
for bed.
So that age, I recommend doing a quiet time.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
more so than a nap. So you guys get a break, he gets a break. That's when I would put the books in the bed. He can look at books and relax, no devices, that sort of thing. It's all things that you are gonna have to play with, right? So, if he takes a 2-hour nap, what does that do to the bedtime? Does that mean he's not tired at 8:30 when you're trying to do bedtime? Okay, tomorrow we're gonna try to limit the nap to an hour and see what happens at bedtime. You're gonna have to sort of play with those variables and, think about their total amount of sleep that they're getting in that 24-hour period and then adjust. So, the 2.5-year-old I just worked with naps at school, doesn't nap at home, becomes overtired by bedtime. We did the quiet time, and that seemed to fix things. And during COVID, at that time I had a 5-year-old. We did quiet time because I couldn't handle being with my child all day doing school, etc. So we did quiet time even up to 5. So I would try those
So
adjustments.
at home he does a quiet time, but at school
Okay.
he usually sometimes falls asleep.
Okay.
Those are the nights that he doesn't go
Yeah.
back. So should we adjust
What?
those
Oh,
nights?
do you mind filling out a feedback form really quick?
Sorry, just gotta
Thanks.
get back to the kiddos, but
Yeah.
yes, I will.
Thank you. Do they do a 2-hour nap?
Sometimes he sleeps, sometimes he doesn't, but yeah, they do that for everybody.
Okay. So,
I can't really say don't do it,
yeah, can you,
Kids have to go to sleep.
will they tell you, like, he
Usually
slept
ask
for an
if he
hour?
slept, Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would adjust.
I mean,
Bedtime.
he normally doesn't, even if he does take a nap there, it's usually not that long.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, play with that bedtime if he takes a nap or doesn't, and move that by a half hour.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. And if you want, I don't know if anyone wants this handout that
Sorry, really great.
that talks about like impacts of attachment on sleep training.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.